Alex had never thought life on the frontier would be boring. After all, he was stationed on a small outpost at the edge of human expansion, a lonely place where the stars felt closer than the people back on Earth. His days were long, spent repairing broken satellites and maintaining the life support systems, and his nights were usually filled with silence. But tonight was different. Something had shifted in the quiet hum of the outpost. He had just finished repairing a communications array outside. The twin moons were rising over the rocky plains, casting silver light across the metallic outpost. He was tired, dirt and grease coating his clothes, and all he wanted was a shower and sleep. Alex kicked open the door to his small quarters and noticed the lights were already on. That was strange. He was the only one here. The outpost was automated and mostly empty, apart from the occasional drone. And then he saw her. A figure stood in the middle of the room. She was unlike anything Alex had seen before. Her skin shimmered faintly under the fluorescent lights, a soft hue that seemed to change when she moved. Her hair flowed like liquid, and her eyes were wide, bright, and intelligent, taking in every detail of the room as if cataloging it in an instant. She stood confidently, entirely unafraid, and most startling of all, she was unclothed. Not in a way that was meant to provoke, but in a way that suggested she was entirely unconcerned about human notions of modesty. Alex froze. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His mind raced. Was this some kind of alien predator? A hallucination from the stress of isolation? Or some strange human experiment gone wrong? The alien smiled, and it was a smile that made Alex's pulse quicken, not out of fear but out of awe. It was a calm, self-assured smile. She lifted a hand and pointed at the bed, then gestured toward him, as if to say, "Sit or stay back, it is yours to decide." Alex swallowed hard, his hands hovering over the tools at his belt. What are you?" he finally managed to say. His voice was hoarse from the cold desert air outside. She tilted her head, regarding him with curiosity. Then she opened her mouth, producing sounds that were clearly not human words. They rose and fell like music, strange and melodic, but completely unintelligible. Alex frowned, realizing he had no way to understand her directly. He took a careful step forward, trying to assess the situation. I don't know what you want. This is my room." The alien didn't react with anger or fear. Instead, she laughed softly, a sound that reminded him of wind chimes. Then she pointed again at the bed, sat down cross-legged, and looked at him expectantly. Alex ran a hand through his hair. "Okay, this is insane. I must be dreaming." He pinched himself hard. The pain was real. Not a dream, not a hallucination. He remembered his training in alien protocols. Stay calm, observe, assess. Don't panic, but nothing in his training covered this exact situation. Here was an alien being standing in his room, confidently acting as if she belonged there. He tried a different approach. He picked up a datapad and started sketching simple shapes, squares, circles, arrows, hoping to communicate. He pointed to the door and made a motion like "go," then pointed to the bed and made a motion like "stay." The alien tilted her head again, clearly intrigued. Then, in a movement so fast he barely caught it, she pointed to the bed and spread her arms as if to claim it. Her body language was clear. "This is mine, but I am not hostile." Alex sighed. He could fight her, sure, but that seemed foolish. She was clearly stronger, faster, and smarter than any unarmed human. And judging by her calm confidence, she was not afraid of consequences. He realized that this wasn't a threat, it was a test, or maybe a request for trust. "Fine," he muttered, "but don't touch anything. Don't just sit there." She nodded, or at least he assumed she nodded since her expression suggested acknowledgement. She sat on the edge of the bed, cross-legged, observing him silently. Her eyes scanned the room, lingering on tools, equipment, and a small hollow screen projecting star charts. Every glance was precise, analytical, like she was understanding everything in seconds. Alex felt a strange mix of frustration and admiration. Here he was, thinking he was the clever one in this outpost, and yet this alien being seemed to understand the room faster than he could. Her confidence was unnerving yet captivating. "Where did you come from?" he asked cautiously. "Are you alone?" The alien tilted her head again and pointed to the window. Outside, the rocky plains were quiet under the twin moons. Alex squinted but saw nothing unusual. "You came from outside." She nodded this time, her head movement deliberate. Then she made a gesture as if falling and landing softly. A flash of understanding hit Alex. She had crashed or traveled through some kind of portal and ended up here. He took a deep breath. He needed to think. The protocol said, "Isolate the unknown, contact command, prevent contamination." But she wasn't attacking and she seemed intelligent. Treating her with suspicion might escalate things unnecessarily. He decided on a different approach: observation and cautious engagement. He grabbed a small tray of food, synth meat and nutrient paste, and placed it near her. She looked at it curiously, sniffed it, and then tasted it. Her eyes widened in surprise at the taste, and then she smiled. Alex realized she was learning quickly, adapting to this new environment. "You're fast," he said, impressed. "I've been here a year, and you've already figured out more about my room than I remember." She tilted her head in a way that made Alex think she was actually considering the meaning of his words. Then she pointed to the small screen projecting star maps. Alex realized she might be interested in space travel, or at least, understanding where she was. He moved closer, pointing to the planets and stars, trying to communicate their names and positions. She followed, nodding, then reached out with one hand to touch the projection. When she did, the star map shimmered under her touch, almost as if reacting to her presence. Alex's eyes widened. She was manipulating the technology effortlessly. "Okay, wow," he muttered. "You're not just a visitor, you're advanced." She smiled again, leaning back on the bed. Alex noticed a strange calmness in her posture. It wasn't arrogance, just certainty. She seemed to know she could trust him, and in turn, she inspired him to trust her. The night deepened. Alex sat on the edge of a chair, unsure what to do next. He glanced at her, and for the first time he allowed himself to study her properly. Her skin shimmered like starlight. Her eyes reflected moons in the sky. She was completely alien, yet somehow approachable. She radiated confidence and intelligence, a combination humans rarely mastered alone. "You're fearless," he said quietly. "Most humans wouldn't do what you just did. Walk in here like you own the place." She looked at him, and for the first time, Alex felt he understood something about her emotions. She wasn't reckless. She was confident because she had no reason to fear him. In her world, survival probably demanded courage, quick thinking, and bold moves. And somehow, she had recognized that in him. Alex felt an odd sense of camaraderie forming. He realized that first impressions were misleading. This wasn't just a strange, bold alien. She was a survivor, a thinker, a being who could teach him much if he could communicate. Then, as if sensing his thoughts, she leaned forward and pointed at a small device on his belt. It was a communicator linked to the central outpost. She wanted it, but she didn't take it. Instead, she looked at him expectantly, clearly asking for permission. Alex hesitated. Handing over technology to a completely unknown species was risky, but he also saw the reasoning. If she wanted to leave safely, or even help him, she would need access. Slowly, he unclipped it and placed it near her. She smiled, touching it lightly, and instantly began analyzing it with gestures and subtle movements. Hours passed like minutes. Alex realized he hadn't been this alert in years. Every instinct was engaged: caution, observation, curiosity. He learned that the alien wasn't just bold. She was intelligent, adaptive, and unafraid. And for the first time, he felt a deep appreciation for the breadth of human courage and ingenuity. This was dangerous, yes, but also exhilarating. By the time the twin moons reached their highest point in the sky, Alex sat back, exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived an impossible encounter and had learned more about this alien being in one night than he thought possible. And somehow, in that odd, tense, and humorous situation, he felt a spark of hope. Hope that humanity, no matter how isolated or small on the frontier, could connect with other worlds. Hope that intelligence, courage, and compassion could bridge the gap between species. And hope that maybe, just maybe, this bold, confident alien might become an ally, not a threat. The room grew quiet again, the soft hum of the outpost filling the silence. The alien reclined on the bed, still observing him, still smiling. Alex realized that sleep would have to wait. Tonight had changed everything. He glanced at her, a small smirk forming. "All right," he said softly, "you can stay for now. But don't think this means I'm letting you run my entire outpost." She tilted her head, clearly amused. And for the first time, Alex felt something strange. Admiration for someone so unlike him, yet entirely human in her own way. The night stretched on, and Alex stayed awake, thinking, planning, and watching. Tomorrow, the real challenge would begin. Learning to communicate, to understand, and perhaps to trust a visitor from the stars who had walked into his room and claimed his bed, not out of malice, but out of bold confidence and survival instinct. And somehow, Alex knew that humanity's greatest strength, its courage, its ingenuity, its willingness to rise to impossible challenges, was about to be tested in ways he had never imagined. The morning sun of the twin moons barely lit the rocky plains outside Alex's outpost. Inside, the alien was already awake, stretching in a way that made her look like she was fluid and weightless at the same time. Alex rubbed his eyes, still not used to the strange sight of her casually taking up space on his bed as if it had always been hers. "Morning," he muttered. She looked at him, tilted her head, and made a soft musical sound which he took as a greeting. Over the last few hours, Alex had learned that gestures, expressions, and tone could convey more than words. Communication was awkward, but slowly it was starting to work. He stood and walked to the food synthesizer. The alien followed, eyes wide with curiosity. When he prepared the nutrient paste, she sniffed it cautiously, then tasted it, eyes lighting up. It was simple, human food, but she seemed to appreciate the effort. Alex realized she was not just surviving, she was learning, observing, and adapting at an incredible pace. He decided it was time to take the next step. "I think we should try working together," he said slowly. "There's more to this outpost than just me. We can fix the satellites faster if we cooperate." The alien tilted her head but nodded. She seemed to understand the basic idea: collaboration. Alex gestured to a small drone that monitored the exterior. He pushed a few buttons, showing her how it worked, then pointed toward the satellites outside. She watched carefully, then mimicked his movements. Her hands moved precisely, almost as if she had memorized his actions instantly. The day became a lesson in human-alien teamwork. Alex climbed to the first satellite, wrench in hand, while she passed him tools with careful precision. When he handed her a calibration device, she touched it, and a small light blinked to life. Clearly, she had some understanding of human technology that he didn't even teach her. "This is impressive," Alex said quietly, mostly to himself. "You're learning faster than anyone I've ever met." She smiled, but it wasn't arrogance. It was acknowledgement. She was here to survive, but she was also curious about everything around her. And Alex, exhausted but amazed, realized he respected her intelligence more with every passing hour. Lunch passed without much speaking. They ate in silence, watching the planes outside. For a moment, Alex felt a strange sense of companionship. She was an alien, yes, but here she was, sharing a space, sharing time, and learning to trust a human. And in return, Alex felt he was learning to trust her. Their moment of calm didn't last. Around mid-afternoon, the outpost sensors beeped sharply. Alex's stomach dropped. He ran to the monitoring station and saw a small patrol approaching from the northern ridge. These weren't human patrols. Their shapes were strange, elongated, and fast-moving. They were alien, but not like her. "They've come for you," Alex said urgently. The alien's eyes narrowed, and she made a low, musical growl, one that sent chills down his spine. She leapt gracefully to her feet, readying herself. Alex realized she had been trained, prepared for combat or escape situations, and he silently admired her bravery. He had to think fast. The patrol could be dangerous, but he wasn't going to let her get captured or hurt on his watch. Using his knowledge of the outpost, he activated a series of automated decoys. Lights flickered, doors hissed, and small drones zipped across the compound, creating confusion. The alien watched, then followed his lead, using gestures and precise movements to manipulate some of the devices herself. Together, they became a synchronized team. She darted to a console and hacked into a small security camera, feeding false images to the approaching patrol. Alex ran to the rooftop and aimed a drone-mounted signal jammer, preventing the intruders from coordinating. The patrol hesitated, then retreated, clearly unsure what was happening. Alex exhaled sharply, wiping sweat from his forehead. The alien turned to him, her eyes bright, and made a sound that he interpreted as approval or gratitude. "You're amazing," he said, still catching his breath. "I don't think I could have handled that alone." She tilted her head again, watching him with curiosity. Alex realized she didn't just survive, she adapted, she learned, she cooperated. Humanity, he thought, had more in common with her than either of them realized: resilience, intelligence, and quick thinking. The rest of the day passed in a mixture of training and experimentation. Alex showed her how to use various outpost tools. She watched, imitated, and improved. By the end of the day, she had not only learned but innovated small modifications to the equipment. Alex was impressed beyond words. This was someone who could change the future of human-alien interactions if she survived long enough. During a quiet moment, Alex pointed toward the star maps projected on the hollow screen. He traced constellations, planets, and satellites. She followed, pointing at them with delicate precision, then making musical notes that seemed to indicate questions. Alex responded with gestures and sketches, and slowly they began to understand each other's way of thinking. It was primitive, yes, but effective. At night, the alien returned to the bed, sitting cross-legged as before. Alex joined her on a chair nearby. He looked at her, a thought forming. "You're not just bold," he said softly. "You're smart, faster than any training I've ever had to go through." She tilted her head as if she understood the compliment. Alex felt a wave of pride, not for himself but for humanity. If humans could survive alone here, adapt, and find common ground with a completely alien mind, they truly were remarkable. And this alien, whatever her name truly was learning to see that too. Sleep came reluctantly. Alex stayed awake a while longer, observing her as she sat still, almost meditative, eyes reflecting the moonlight. He realized he was learning patience, observation, and respect for beings different from himself. She, in turn, was learning trust, caution, and subtle human behaviors. The next morning brought a new challenge. Sensors detected movement outside, another patrol, but larger this time. Alex and the alien exchanged a glance. They had a plan now, and trust had begun to form between them. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was collaboration. Alex led the patrol into a carefully orchestrated trap using decoys and environmental hazards. The alien coordinated from inside, manipulating doors and panels to create confusion. When the patrol attempted to breach the outpost, they found themselves in a maze of lights and barriers. Alex marveled at her instincts, precise timing, and courage under pressure. Together, they forced the intruders to retreat without a single casualty. After the chaos, Alex and the alien sat together, exhausted but triumphant. "I can't believe it," Alex said, shaking his head. You're incredible. How do you do all of this?" She made a soft, musical sound, one he interpreted as modesty. She gestured to him as if to say that their cooperation had been key. Alex realized that was the essence of humanity too. Alone, humans were strong, but together, adaptable and clever, they were unstoppable. Over the next few days, a rhythm formed. They worked together, repaired equipment, experimented with alien technology she had discovered from her ship, and even started exploring the nearby landscape. Alex noticed her fascination with the small, resilient forms of life on the planet, how she observed patterns in the rocks, the soil, and even the tiny dust particles moving in the wind. She saw beauty in the details that humans often ignored, and Alex found himself learning from her as much as she was learning from him. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise, Alex realized something. This alien, bold and confident, had entered his life as a stranger, uninvited and completely fearless. Yet she had taught him patience, collaboration, and the power of trust. And in turn, Alex had shown her that humans were clever, brave, and adaptable. "Tomorrow," he said, breaking the silence, "we'll test the long-range comms. If we can get a signal out, maybe someone can help you or at least understand who you are." She nodded eagerly, her eyes reflecting determination. Alex smiled. Humanity might be far from perfect, but this moment, this partnership, was proof that courage, intelligence, and compassion could create bridges across the stars. Night fell again. The alien returned to the bed, her confident posture unchanged. Alex, tired but inspired, sat nearby. Sleep came slowly, but he felt ready. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that together they could face them. She had entered his room boldly, claiming space with confidence, but now she had become something else, a partner in survival, learning, and discovery. As he drifted off, Alex realized the frontier was no longer just a lonely outpost. It was a place of first contact, of understanding, and of human potential shining through in the face of the unknown. And somewhere deep inside, he felt a quiet thrill, knowing that humanity's best qualities, curiosity, courage, and ingenuity, were being seen by someone who could truly appreciate them. The night stretched on, filled with the soft hum of the outpost. Alex dreamed of stars, strange worlds, and the bond forming between a human and an alien who had walked boldly into his life and changed it forever. The morning light cast long shadows across the rocky plains outside the outpost. Alex woke to the soft hum of the life support systems, the twin moons still visible in the sky as if they lingered to watch the day begin. He rubbed his eyes and glanced toward the bed. The alien was already awake, sitting cross-legged as usual, eyes bright and attentive. Today felt different. There was a tension in the air, a sense that whatever came next would define both of their fates. Alex had spent days learning to communicate with her, to understand her gestures, her soft musical sounds, and the subtle expressions that carried meaning. And she, in turn, had learned patience, cooperation, and trust in a human she had never met before. Alex stood and moved toward the communications console. Today they would attempt something new, sending a signal far beyond the planet, reaching out to her people, or perhaps any other intelligent life nearby. The alien watched him with intensity, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. She leaned forward, touching the console lightly. Alex noticed the way she interacted with technology. It was precise, fluid, and confident. She wasn't just learning human devices. She was improving them in small ways he hadn't thought possible. "All right," he said, "let's see if we can get this signal out." She tilted her head and made a soft musical sound, one he interpreted as acknowledgement. Alex began inputting coordinates, while she mirrored his gestures, pointing to different nodes and panels, guiding him subtly with insights he didn't know he needed. Together, they worked seamlessly, a team united by necessity and curiosity. Hours passed as they calibrated the transmitter. Alex marveled at how naturally she had adapted to human technology, how quickly she had learned to think like him in a technical sense. He realized something important. Humanity's strength wasn't just in courage or bravery. It was in adaptability, intelligence, and the willingness to collaborate, even with someone utterly alien. Finally, the console emitted a soft, steady tone. The signal was ready. Alex exhaled, relieved, and gestured to the alien. She responded with a small nod as if to say, "We did it." Before they could activate the transmitter, the outpost sensors beeped sharply. A larger patrol was approaching, faster and more organized than before. Alex's stomach dropped. He glanced at the alien who was already on her feet, moving with the grace of someone trained for survival. "Get ready," he said. "This might be tricky." The patrol moved quickly over the ridge, their elongated forms casting strange shadows on the rocky ground. Alex and the alien sprang into action. Using the outpost's automated defenses, drones, and environmental features, they created confusion and obstacles. Doors slammed shut, lights flickered, and decoy signals misled the intruders. The alien moved with unmatched agility, controlling panels, redirecting power, and creating diversions. Alex coordinated the drones, adjusted communications, and monitored the patrol's movement. Together, they became an unstoppable team. It wasn't brute strength or weapons that won the day. It was intelligence, strategy, and the perfect combination of human and alien thinking. By nightfall, the patrol retreated, clearly frustrated and defeated. Alex sank into a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. The alien stood nearby, watching him, her eyes reflecting the twin moons outside. Alex realized something profound. Humanity's courage, adaptability, and ingenuity had earned the respect of an alien species. Not through violence, but through cleverness and calm reasoning. For a moment they sat in silence. Alex allowed himself a small smile. "We make a good team," he said softly. She tilted her head, a gesture that conveyed understanding, perhaps even agreement. The next day, Alex attempted to expand their communication further. Using the aliens' intuitive understanding of technology, they managed to strengthen the signal and encode it with patterns that could be understood by her species. The alien demonstrated subtle methods of signal enhancement, showing him that cooperation across worlds could lead to solutions beyond human imagination. As they worked, Alex noticed something else. She was learning about human emotions, social cues, and behavior. She mimicked simple gestures, studied facial expressions, and even laughed softly when he made a joke. It was fascinating to see intelligence and curiosity at work in such a foreign form. And it reminded him why humans had always survived. Our brains, our empathy, our ability to adapt, even to the most unusual circumstances. When the signal finally transmitted, Alex and the alien waited, tense but hopeful. Minutes felt like hours, but then the console beeped. A response. She moved quickly to the console, interpreting the signals with skill Alex could barely comprehend. She gestured, pointed, and even emitted a few melodic tones. Alex realized she was reading messages, understanding the replies from her people, and preparing for the next steps. "This is it," Alex said quietly. "We've made contact." She looked at him, eyes wide, reflecting relief, hope, and pride. Alex felt a surge of happiness. They had done it together. Humanity had proven its capability once again, not just to survive, but to build bridges where none had existed before. Over the next few days, they prepared for her departure. The alien would return to her people, taking with her knowledge of humanity and a story of courage, intelligence, and trust. Alex had mixed feelings. He was proud, yes, but also aware that this partnership had changed him. He had learned patience, cooperation, and respect in ways he hadn't imagined. And he knew that she, too, had learned from him the strengths, resilience, and heart of humanity. When the moment finally came, she approached the bed one last time. Alex gestured toward the console. ensuring she had everything she needed for the journey home. She touched the equipment gently, a silent acknowledgement of their shared experience. Then she turned, glanced at him, and made a soft melodic sound, a farewell but also a promise that humanity had left an impression. Alex nodded. "Safe travels," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. She inclined her head and moved toward the portal device that would take her home. As she stepped through, the air shimmered and then she was gone, leaving the room empty. Alex stood in silence, absorbing the moment. The bed she had claimed so boldly now seemed ordinary, but the memory of her presence lingered. It wasn't about the bed or the initial shock. It was about the journey, the learning, the connection, and the recognition of humanity's potential. He walked to the console and checked the signals. Her people had acknowledged the transmission, understanding that humans were capable of intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Alex smiled, a quiet pride swelling in his chest. Humanity had made its mark, not through conquest or aggression, but through adaptability, empathy, and ingenuity. Over the following days, he continued his work at the outpost, repairing satellites, calibrating systems, and monitoring the planet. Yet every glance at the empty bed reminded him of the lessons he had learned. That humans, even alone at the edge of the galaxy, could rise to challenges, adapt to new situations, and earn the respect of beings far more advanced than themselves. He thought about her often. Her confidence, her intelligence, her curiosity, all reminders of what it meant to face the unknown without fear. And he knew that humanity, in its own way, shared those qualities. Boldness, adaptability, courage, and compassion, the traits that had allowed humans to survive and thrive across worlds. One night, as he gazed at the stars projected on the hollow screen, Alex realized something profound. Humanity's journey was only beginning. There were countless worlds out there, countless civilizations, and countless challenges. But if humans approached them with intelligence, empathy, and courage, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The frontier was no longer lonely. It was filled with possibility. And somewhere among the stars, the alien who had walked into his room boldly and claimed his bed would remember him, and humanity, not as a threat, but as a species worth knowing, trusting, and respecting. Alex leaned back, finally allowing himself to rest. He had faced the impossible, survived, and learned more than he ever imagined. And he knew, deep in his heart, that humanity's greatest strengths were not just survival, but the ability to connect, to adapt, and to rise to the challenges of an ever-expanding universe. The twin moons reflected off the outpost walls, silver light filling the room. Alex closed his eyes and smiled. He had learned that courage, intelligence, and empathy were the true markers of a species capable of greatness. And in that quiet moment at the edge of the galaxy, he felt hope, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. The universe was vast, full of unknowns, but humanity had proven it could meet them head-on. And one day, Alex thought, humans would travel even farther, face even greater challenges, and inspire others, just as he had been inspired by a bold, confident alien who had changed his life forever. The frontier was bright. Humanity was ready.